Welcome to the Recovery Centered Podcast, the space for honest conversation about healing, hope, and the journey through mental health and addiction recovery. Each episode, we sit down with people making a difference, from therapists and researchers to change makers and to survivors. Now, to explore what recovery really looks like in the world. This podcast is produced in collaboration with Beachway Therapy Center. Hey, everybody, welcome to another podcast of the Recovery Centered. My name is Tim Roberto, and our guest today is, I've been dying to say this, Dr. Laura. Dr. Laura.
Hello, how are you?
I'm blessed because I'm 63 and I grew up with Dr.
The
Laura.
original. I know. That's I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I think she's still around. I don't know, is she?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I do a road trip, I still hit her up on my Amazon podcast option.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
hope she doesn't think I'm trying to replace her. Nobody can replace the original Dr. Laura. I just can't help it. I was born with the same name.
Yeah, it's amazing, and
Yeah.
you went down kinda like the same road too,
Mhm.
getting your PhD, and,
Mm.
yeah, so it's an honor to have innovators like you and doers like you,
I'm
and
so glad to be here. It's been a conversation that has been long coming because we travel in the same circles,
yeah, right?
right? And sometimes, we see people's names all over the
Yeah,
place, but we just haven't had the opportunity to sit down.
yeah, yeah, and here we are
Mhm.
finally, about to go at it and have a
There we
nice
go.
conversation and reach that one person.
Mhm.
So, you got your PhD. Give
Mhm.
us a little background, like a little story, a little workup to what's going on, and
I think I was probably born to be a psychologist, even though I didn't know that that was what I was going to be. I was going through some old books in my house from when I was a kid. And, people used to like the little golden books and, all
Mm.
these fluffy, and I had some of those fluffy romance books, but I was looking at a lot of the books I had that I read when I was a preteen and a teen. And it was like custody, alcoholic mom, mother who's passing away, drama in the house. I'm thinking, what the hell was I reading that stuff for as a teenager? And I was always attracted to those kinds of stories of people who for whatever reason made it through. So it
Mm,
wasn't like, it was all dark, but there was always like the resilience piece at the end.
mm,
And I just had some thoughts as I was going on. Maybe I'll be a social worker, maybe I'll be a teacher, like all
yeah,
of these different ways to kind of help people. But then when I went to college and I said, I'm just gonna do the class. That's gonna be my life. The class that doesn't feel like it's a class.
mm,
And it was psychology. I was fascinated by it. I'm like, this is really what I've been reading about my entire life.
yeah,
Now I just have to figure out because you can't do anything with a bachelor's in psychology. So it's all right. Now
mm,
I have to decide, am I going to commit to the entire process? It's not easy. So you're making that decision
yeah,
as an undergrad for
yeah,
another like 7 or 8 years
yeah, huge
afterwards.
decision
Huge decision. Yeah. Yeah.
and
But
an incredible discipline.
yeah.
I always have a lot of respect for people that can just sit up or sit down somewhere on a couch and study and do it on the regular, like my wife is a licensed clinician, and
Mhm.
just to watch her go through what she went through to get that, changed my whole perspective on education, as that kind of commitment, because you're at a really, and then to go get your PhD is another 2 more years
Mhm.
on top of that. Like, the dedication's incredible, and I think people who are in your life are very fortunate to have you. You have a knack. Not everybody can do that.
It's an interesting experience. The training itself is amazing, but I do think you have to have a certain personality to be able
Agree.
to go into it and to be able to listen to people's stories day in and day out
Mm.
and not take it on yourself. Because that's why the burnout rate for
Yeah.
therapists is really
Oh,
is
it's
really
extremely
so
high.
high. Right.
So you're in that lane where you're seeing people maybe not at their worst, but troubled, I guess. Is that a fair?
I'm seeing people
uh,
who come to me at their
okay.
worst
Uh,
because I've been doing addictions since I started training.
mm,
I was the first trainee on a brand new detox unit in Nassau County Long Island
Uh,
when I was training,
yeah.
and so there was a methadone clinic there. I worked with the HIV population prior to the antiretrovirals, so it was, only AZT. I
Yep.
worked in oncology units. I mean, I worked in the jail.
Wow.
I went in with the idea that I am going to get the best experience and the most varied experience that I could get
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because this is my only opportunity. Like, no one's gonna trust you. You're not gonna be able to walk in and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
Tim, can I come in your jail today and just
Yep.
kinda work in your jail?"
Yep.
So I really sucked the life out of every experience I had, but I gotta tell you, it was as you were saying, I delayed a lot of gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, the way you I sucked the life out of
Mhm.
whatever it took, right?
Whatever
Whatever it
it yeah, and I was really honored that people would trust me in these
Yeah.
kinds of situations. They're so vulnerable. I'm a trainee.
Yep.
They're not being their best selves at the time
Yeah.
by far,
Yep. Yep.
and they would allow me into their world. I never lose that piece.
Yeah, but kudos to you, because that's real social work,
Mm,
even though you were climbing the ladder as far as the education goes, economically, you were still in where a lot of people just won't go,
right.
but I'm really that I have a lot of respect for that because you're right, it is a different population and they're definitely thinking differently.
Mhm.
But then again, on the other side of that spectrum, you got a lot of people with the money that are thinking like that. It's just they haven't gotten caught
Oh,
because
absolutely.
they can get away with
A
it.
well, absolutely, and I mean, I think that's why when you walk into a room, everybody gets treated with respect.
Mm,
I don't care who you are,
yeah, I love
where you
that.
came from,
Yep.
because the guy with the money is one step away from the homeless person. He just hasn't lost it all yet,
Correct.
right?
Correct. From Park Bench to Park Avenue
Mhm.
and everything in between.
Mhm.
Do you have a certain niche that you do or your lane? Because you have your own practice,
I have
correct?
my own practice, right? So I do eating disorders and addiction are my first love.
Okay.
I'm actually going through the interventionist certification process right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right, good.
I'm doing
Kudos. Like a CIP kind of thing?
CIP. Yeah, so
From my understanding, out of all the interventionists, and there's probably countless of them, out
mhm.
there, uh, I heard, from my understanding, there's very few CIPs.
I
That's my understanding.
that's new to me. However,
Nationally.
I think yeah, probably nationally. I think they're centered in certain areas, right? Florida, some
Yeah,
of the
but, like,
bigger
the
areas.
credential itself, everybody
Yeah.
says they're an interventionist, but and now that I'm mentioning that to you and I think about it, everybody I never see CIP.
Well, let me tell you, it is not a just like drive in and get your certification thing. There are some serious requirements.
Glad you
So
said that. That's probably why I'm not seeing it a lot either.
yeah.
Yeah.
So even me with, my 20 something years of experience, I'm
Yeah.
going through coursework because
Yeah.
I don't have those particular areas. And that's
Yeah.
fine. I want to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
I want to start from the ground up. But so I'm doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've written a couple of books, some book chapters. I love the speaking part. I'm doing more speaking.
Yeah.
But then I'll do, I work with VIPs and athletes, and my big thing is really just looking at mindset and how mindset really sets the tone for us.
Mm.
And so even my podcast from Mayhem to Mindset came from, you know, an Eminem lyric because
Yeah.
I think he is one of the best, most
Very
public
clever.
examples of someone who was living in mayhem, and he even talks about it
Yeah.
in the lyrics to his song "Not Afraid,"
Yeah. Yeah.
at one of my favorite songs. And he talks about creating mayhem, and with the power of mindset and changing how he wanted to be in the world. Look at what he has become,
Amazing.
an icon.
Yeah.
He would have been dead or in jail
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah. It wasn't going down a very
Mhm.
productive road.
Right.
So that's pretty good. I really like that name because it is total mayhem,
Mhm.
when the mind is corrupted or addiction or,
Mhm.
and the things it does or the environments that a lot of people grew up in.
Mhm.
Did you have a personal experience or attachments to this, or this was just a natural attraction to you, the psychology and
Just, in terms of podcasting or in terms of the mindset piece or
Just your career and your trajectory,
so it was
like
kinda interesting. I trained in New York where everybody was psychodynamically oriented. I
mm,
was probably one of the only CBT oriented clinicians in New York at the time.
mm,
It just made sense to me
mm,
from my own thinking. Like, why wouldn't it make a difference the way you approach a situation? It just made a lot of sense to me. Not that psychodynamic didn't, and I did training in both, and I will swap based on what's needed for the
yeah.
client. But
Excuse me, what's the difference between the 2, CBT and psycho?
so, psychodynamic therapy is really focusing on early childhood conflict, usually unconscious conflict.
Mm,
So, that's where we get things like, you may see some person and you have an immediate reaction to them and you don't like them. And
mm,
it could be because they remind you of their father. Right. And
gotcha,
their father was abusive
gotcha.
or something like that. So we're always looking at unconscious processes. CBT is looking more at just how you think, how you view a
Mm,
situation, what your thoughts about it, and how your thinking can affect your motivation and your behavior. So the example I always use from people is, any event can potentially be neutral. So I use this with my students when I was teaching this semester. What if you guys failed out of my class? Right? And of course, no one's gonna fail my class. You have to try to fail my class. But but I
oh,
said, "What if he failed?" And so people were like, I would be sad, I would be depressed, I would be upset, and then one kid was like, "I'd be relieved, and I'd kinda be happy." And I go, "How come?" And he said, "Well, what if you don't wanna go to school and your parents are making you go?" Well, if you fail, now it's proving to my parents that maybe school is not what I should be doing.
oh,
Right?
yeah,
And
I get that.
so, that out of all of the kids in the class, he got it,
Yeah,
that the way you can view a situation is what your emotional state is gonna be.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, really fascinating kinda stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we always have that beautiful gift of choice, right? We can
Right.
always choose how we respond
Mhm.
and how we, adjust,
Mhm.
and I'm a CBT guy too because I think with addiction, maybe you see it like I do. I think physically the addict or the alcoholic, once they get pickled,
Mhm.
right? Once they cross over the line, they can't come back. Like they can't just have one.
Right.
There's something changed, something has shifted.
Mhm.
But the beauty of it is the addict or the alcoholic gets to change their thinking because it's the thinking that keeps putting it in.
Mhm. Mhm. It's the thinking, and then it's the ability to deal with the emotional state in the body that goes along with that thinking.
How to regulate, right?
Right,
Your
which you've
emotions
likely been drinking to avoid.
to soothe
Right.
and
So it's one thing to say, well, I lost my job, so I'm a loser. Right. But
mm,
then to actually deal with the emotional state inside and where you feel it in your body. Because if we can get people to recognize very early on,
mm,
let's say that anger starts, as a little burning in your stomach, right? You can intervene before you blow your top.
mm.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so my hope is to get people to understand how subtle the shifts can be. Because you know how people will say, all of a sudden I ended up in a bar. No, you didn't.
Correct.
No, you didn't. There
Correct.
were multiple
Uh,
different steps,
correct.
right? Bar fights don't just happen.
Yeah.
You ignored all of those
Warning
signals.
signs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and you definitely put in before you pick up.
absolutely.
One
Absolutely.
hands down.
Could be months or years before you actually relapse. You are relapsing.
It's like the most patient illness I've ever come
Mhm.
across that, I'm not a doctor, but, it's just incredible how addiction, alcoholism moves, like,
Mhm.
how it justifies, how it tells somebody you don't have a problem,
Mhm.
you did this because of them, like, the lack of accountability that comes with it. Do you
Mhm.
find through all your years and trainings and positions, in your life, do you find like a certain characteristic that a lot have? Is it
I mean, we could talk about personality traits that are associated with people who have addiction, et cetera. In if you're talking about addiction or you're talking about eating disorder, you're really looking at underlying trauma. And I think people know that on some level. they don't wanna deal with it, right? So if you're drinking and there's some trauma there and you're in denial, part of your denial is, "Listen, I know there's stuff underneath. I don't wanna deal with it
Mm,
because it's going to bring me back to that time
mm.
that I lived through and never wanna remember again. So why should I acknowledge that I have a problem? Then I gotta do something about it."
But that's what's strange, like, if you're driving down the road and your car's making a noise, like, you do something about it.
Oh, not a lot of people. Not a lot of
Alright,
people.
what
They will
other
go
example could I
they
come
will
up with?
but it's similar, right? I have people who are 85, 70 pounds, and they refuse to see that they need to be hospitalized. As long as I am standing, as long as I am vertical, I'm okay. I don't need help.
I get that part, but like, for me, like, it's part of the identity, right? It's part of the thing I hold on to. It's the, do or die. I'm
It's my
gonna
coping.
correct.
What do I do without
But
it?
that same person wouldn't put their hand on a hot stove.
Mhm.
Like, intellectually,
Mhm.
"Oh, it's hot."
Mhm.
Or, I don't know, it's one of my friends, and, I don't know, we're about to cook something. "Oh, Tim, stop, it's hot. Oh, thanks so much." Like,
Mhm.
intellectually, I get, but, any disorder, right? Eating,
Mhm.
alcoholism, drug addiction, anxiety, all these like, it's like that strange mental blank spot, like,
Even medical illness. All right, let's talk about the car analogy. Even with medical illness, how many people may have signs or symptoms of cancer for a while and don't go to the doctor because they're afraid of what they're going to find out? So that engine is knocking, right? It is.
I mean,
So it's, listen, people often underestimate their ability to cope. And they often underestimate the degree to which they are resilient. And what I tell people is you will make it through because you have to. If you're alive at the end of the day and God willing you are, like nothing bad has happened to you, you've made it through a day,
amazing, yeah.
which shows us you can do it.
Mm,
You just got to take it that small step. You've survived today,
mm.
get up tomorrow, and all you got to do is survive tomorrow.
Yeah, I believe in the human tenacity and that resilience and
Mhm.
that explorer, the adventurer in us,
Mhm.
that will to survive. That
Mhm.
will, but there's all these blocks to it and bumps
Mhm.
but I don't know. I just think, the mind it's obviously
It's a game player.
oh my God, but
Mhm.
what it can create is just incredible compared to what it is.
Mhm.
Like we give these thoughts and so much power and
Right.
control over us, but then you got somebody like you or me, like, a thought doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is,
Mhm.
but the image that it can take us or the road we can go down is just unbelievable.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's a lot of these unresolved issues, right? But why does everybody, is it a genetic thing? Is it a biological thing? Like, some people drink, some people do cocaine, some people do meth, some people have an eating disorder,
It's a
some people.
great question. It's a great question. We know that all of these disorders are multifactorial, right? I mean, the more information we find out, there is a scientific basis, a brain basis for a lot of these disorders, genetics, all of that. But the way I like to explain it to people is, let's say our ability to cope with the world is here.
Mm,
Okay. But let's say the world has decided to give you this. You now have a gap between what you're able to cope with and what the world has given you. In the gap is where we develop symptoms. And the symptoms that we develop are based on our unique genetic history, how we've grown up, maybe our personality, right?
mm,
Because we know that not everybody who experiences a trauma develops PTSD.
mm,
Right? So we know that it's not, one size fits all. So in that gap is where people have their own unique vulnerabilities. And so the goal is to close that gap
mm.
and help people identify their vulnerabilities and put in a better plan so that when life gives you a little bit more, again, as it's always going to happen, you're not going to go down that same path.
So when you say give them better skills, right?
Right.
Coping skills, is that where that discipline comes in again? Like you get people to get to that point where, say, the coping skill is automatic, not the acting out. Is that fair?
It's the
Like,
yeah, it's the coping skill, it's the emotional regulation, it's recognizing when you're in trouble, it's seeking out the three things that I say about addiction, which can be really applied to anything, is there are three C's.
mm,
The three C's to addiction. And number one, it's consistency. Right? You have to be consistent, consistently watching, consistently aware. You don't have to be paranoid about it,
mm,
but you need to be consistently
mm,
checking in with yourself. Is this an okay space for me? Am I okay? Is this person that I'm hanging out with going to be okay for
mm,
me? So there's the consistency. There's the what I like to call lack of complacency. Better not be complacent, right? As soon as you drop that meeting that you know is vital to you, as
mm,
soon as you drop that friend, the one who helped you get sober and who's been a support, that's where you start going downhill. And then the third thing is the connection, right? What is the one thing that links all mental illnesses and addictions? Isolation.
mm.
Right?
Oh
So
yeah,
keeping that connection, right? Keeping those three C's in mind
yeah,
will really help to keep you down a path or help to get you early intervention when you need it.
yeah. Well, I speak in my language as a fellow who's long-term recovery. Like
Mhm.
I see it all the time. I just, I tell people that either come back or, prior to leaving or whatever the case may be. I said, I want you to think about that. You're kind of designed to unwire.
Right.
So you're like wired
Mhm.
to unwire. And there's these certain conditions. I love the three C's that you need to practice or
Mhm.
implement in your life treating this illness.
Right.
So the way you put that was great. I'm gonna take that one, I think,
Mhm.
and use it because it's so imperative.
Mhm.
It's, yeah, it's that, thing. Like, I see
And it
people
applies to anything, really.
but I see people love, say the treatment environment at a good treatment center. They do so well.
Mhm.
They start coming back to the mothership. You know what I mean? They're
Mhm.
more comfortable being vulnerable, telling on themselves, throwing a couple secrets out here and
Mhm.
there. And then, boy, I'll tell you what, after 60 days, it's like, wow, look at this person. And you get to see it right in front of you, the resilience in
Mhm.
people. And then slowly, and then if they do come back, you ask him, "What happened?" "I
Mhm.
stopped doing this, I stopped doing that, and I stopped doing that,
Mhm.
and here I am." The next thing I know, I had a drink in my hand.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Do you think it's genetic?
Yes.
100%.
Not 100%. Nothing is 100% genetic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because for example, let's talk about got to just throw it out here because he's been honest about it. President Trump. He has a history of alcoholism, addiction in his family. I
Yep.
believe his brother died of
Alcoholism.
alcoholism.
Yep.
He obviously is genetically loaded. He has never picked up a drink.
Correct.
So that was the way that he dealt with it. Now, does he have and it's not my place, I don't know him.
Yeah, yeah,
Does
yeah.
he have personality traits that are likely associated? Probably, just from growing up
The
in the
isms, right?
environment,
The
right?
isms,
Yeah,
right?
but he's not an active alcoholic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Kinda like a para-alcoholic,
mhm,
right? Runs parallel to the behaviors
he's just
of
not engaging in the behavior.
in
Now,
the
again,
substance.
I don't diagnose
Yeah.
people I don't know. I've never spoken to him,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he's spoken out about this, which
yeah.
is why I can comment on it. That and he's told his kids and his grandkids, don't ever drink, don't
Mm.
ever use
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah.
And I've told that to my kids too. You will never have to worry about having a problem if you
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like
Just don't.
it's kinda like a gamble, right? Because it could go back if it's genetic. I agree too. I think it's the how do I put it? I think it's the main component,
Mhm.
because, just like anything else, right? It's
Mhm.
kinda like an allergy.
Mhm.
You got the people are allergic to peanuts, and
Right.
intellectually, they don't touch peanuts, like,
Right. Mhm.
allergic to shellfish, all the allergies, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I think it's the same thing, like, my allergy starts with I don't like how I feel.
Mhm.
I got no coping skills. I got great coping skills,
Right. But there you go.
but I got no
Right.
but once I put it in, my lord, I can't stop.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you like genetic testing, gene testing? Do you like that kind of stuff?
Oh, I was so fascinated by it.
It's kind of cool,
That
right?
was gonna be an area shoot. In ninth grade, I actually thought about becoming a
Ninth grade.
geneticist. Yeah.
Really? Holy cow.
And then I was like, this is how I was not I didn't think ahead. I'm like, there's not gonna be a career in this. And so, yeah, so
Yeah,
I
look
wound
at it
up a
now.
psychologist instead. But I'm fascinated by all of it. I'm fascinated, we're looking at crime stories, the Nancy Guthrie case, all of that stuff. Like I'm a science nerd.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
read up on all of that kind of stuff. So that to me is really fascinating.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that part of your self-care practice?
Being a nerd, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, Dr. Lore reading.
I am a big like YouTube person. I'm a
Uh-huh.
big TikTok person.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
within reason.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm not. I learn a lot from people on YouTube. I have learned a lot.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
If you watch the right kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Everybody's got worth,
Yeah. Yeah.
and obviously you're watching stuff that you are attracted to and what, you're interested in, and, part of your career, your education, your intellect. So I'm sure the algorithms are dropping some wicked stuff on you.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, I
Absolutely.
never heard that. Like,
I didn't even know. Okay, for everyone, I'm totally now going to be a crime nerd. I will tell you that right now. I found out that there's like a crime camp that you can go to.
what?
Yes.
And they give
Where
you cases to figure out, you
Yes,
mean?
and they teach you
Oh my
like
God, that's
blood
pretty cool.
spatters and like yeah.
That's
So
pretty cool.
there was one last year. I can't find the one for this year yet, but there's also a crime con, which I didn't know.
Crime con?
Crime con, like Comic Con or
Oh,
Santa
con.
Con
I
or
thought you were saying con.
no, no, no. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
get the con man
No, no,
kind of.
where like people get together
Oh,
and it's a
cool.
convention
Yeah, yeah,
where,
yeah.
I guess it would be mostly like, TikTok sleuthers and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
there's some
yeah.
people who are out there who are doing some
Yeah, the
really interesting
comic
stuff.
world is like its own like
Mhm.
space, man. They're like
Mhm.
it's like their own tribe, you know what I mean? There's a lot
Yeah.
out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some really interesting,
Yeah.
unique people doing stuff out there that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Any like hobbies, cooking, recipes, kayaking, running,
I will
yeah.
I will try most things. I'm pretty active. I was an athlete growing up, soccer player,
Oh
softball
yeah. Oh,
player. Yeah,
nice.
I love that
Nice.
kind of stuff. It's been hard in Florida. I find that Florida is an interesting place. I moved here in 2019. Um,
From New York,
Long
Long
Island.
Island,
Yeah.
Jones Beach. I was
Jones
born
Beach
in
is a nice
Brooklyn. I got a
place.
lot of memories of
Mhm.
Jones Beach
Beautiful
as a
area.
boy. Yeah.
Beautiful area. I find it a little bit more challenging to meet people here. And I thought
Yeah.
Long Island was bad. It's a challenge to meet people here. So a lot of the
Yeah.
things, luckily, I have no problem doing things on my own.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll
Yeah.
travel on my own. I'll
Yeah.
do whatever on my own,
Yeah, good for
and that's
you.
fine.
Yep.
Especially my work schedule is a little weird, but I'm open for a lot of things.
Yeah.
If I'm physically able to do it, I'll try it.
Yeah, yeah, that's
If
cool.
it won't kill me at the end of the day,
Yeah,
I have to put something on there.
yeah, that's cool. Favorite food? Do you have a favorite food?
Oh, well, I'm gluten free now, which has been
Uh,
really annoying, but I would have to say pizza is probably one of my favorite foods.
that
But
gluten-free pizza
doesn't
crust
do it.
just
Doesn't
is it
do it.
worth taking the plunge for you to have a real pizza, or are you gonna pay a big price?
I paid a big
Big
price
price.
last year accidentally
Oh,
having some gluten. So, yeah.
oh, gee.
I'm hopeful because, again, if we look at genetics, right, maybe they'll be able, I'll be first in line if they can like change something around, right? I've also heard that if you go to Italy or go to other
Yeah,
countries,
that's why I hear
you
that.
can eat
Yeah.
gluten there and it doesn't bother your system, which concerns me about our system. But
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
I do have arthritis. Broke my femur bone back in my late 20s, screwed up my kneecap really
Mhm.
bad. So, and I still run. I do all these crazy walks for my charity. I just did a 100-mile walk in
Phenomenal.
in December.
Uh-huh.
Um, but if I eat, that cheap, and then I have to check if it's enriched, that's like forget
Mhm.
that's just
Mhm.
gross, right?
Mhm.
It's enriched because of the process.
Yes.
I'm okay with
Mhm.
organic
Mhm.
wheat. I can get by, like, I don't but boy, anything other than
It's
that,
interesting, isn't
man,
it?
I get so sore.
Mhm.
So, or I do, the oatmeal.
Mhm.
I do an oatmeal flour. I just put it in a blender and
Oh, that's a good idea
zap
too.
and start working with that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I get the inflammation. Phew.
Inflammation is key.
Yeah, then yeah, if I don't watch it, my what do they call that? Plantar fasciitis,
Oh,
and my
that'll
left foot starts kicking up, and I get whacked.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I have a very medical focus. I work with a lot of people who have autoimmune disorders. That's a real interest of
Yeah.
mine because of the co-occurrence that I see with people in eating
Yeah.
disorders, right? And the link potentially to trauma. So,
Wait, say that one more time.
so people with eating disorders, I've
Uh-huh.
seen in my experience,
Uh-huh.
have a very high co-occurrence of autoimmune disorders.
Okay.
And people with autoimmune disorders tend to have underlying trauma.
Uh,
And so is the trauma kicking off the inflammatory process?
uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm not an MD, but these are some of the nerdy paths that I go
I
down.
mean, I'm not an MD either, but you know, theoretically, it's kind of like
Makes sense.
it does because what gene has morphed over the generations, right?
Mhm.
It's become a completely than what it was designed to do because of an
Mhm.
altercation, or right?
Mhm.
And now it's responding like what you were just talking
Mhm.
about. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm totally in on
Mhm.
that
Right.
for sure.
Right.
When you were saying like if unless they came up with something about the gluten, you mean like people will take something like if they're lactose intolerance or something
No, I'm
like you
thinking
mean
more
is that what
nerdy.
you meant
I'm
by
more nerdy than that. I'm thinking like stem cell transplants or
okay.
yeah, plasma exchange. I don't know if you follow Brian Johnson. Do you know about him?
Nah.
So he's got this company called Blueprint,
Uh-huh.
and he has invested millions of dollars in himself to try to reverse the aging process, which he has done at the cost of millions of dollars. But
Wow.
as a result, it's spilling over into things that we're learning about
Mm.
our human body and what is actually causing aging, which aging isn't just physiological, it's the death of cells, right?
Yeah,
Like our bodies are
yeah,
slowly
yeah.
dying every day.
Yeah.
So he's done quite a lot of work on it. And that was another, I went to his conference. It's an
Yeah.
interesting path of what can we do, and we can do things on a daily basis. And
Mm,
listen,
you mean through diet kind
through
of?
diet, through exercise, through good sleep. He is a huge believer of good sleep.
Yeah.
Don't use the devices before bed. It screws up melatonin. You're not going to sleep well. I mean, just simple things that we can
Yeah.
do that we get complacent,
Yeah. Boy,
right?
talk about disciplines like we were talking about before.
Hmm.
That for me, that would be a huge discipline that I would have to put in the motion because
Right.
I love lying down and scrolling at night. Like
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
crazy. Like I never see the same thing twice. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I do too. I do too, but I watch what I scroll now.
Yeah.
Like it used to be when I was married, my husband would have CSI on the TV as I was trying to fall asleep, and I
Uh,
found that I couldn't sleep because it was way too stimulating.
yeah.
Right?
Well, you're intrigued by all that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if I'm watching cat videos or
Yeah.
something like that, I mean, it's not going to keep me awake. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. I like the guys that I watch build the little huts.
Really?
I don't know if you
No,
ever come
I'll
up,
have to
they're
look
out in
at
the
it.
woods
Huh.
and it's all like, whatever they call that.
Oh, that's so
I just
cool.
say fast forward.
Like a weaving kind of thing?
Oh my God. Now they chop down trees, they
Oh,
build
wow. So they're really doing
like,
it,
I
like
mean, the whole 9 yards, and it fascinates the heck out of me. They
wow.
put stoves in there and floors,
Wow.
like, just so really, really intriguing stuff, like, that I find it like, kinda like you, I find that soothing
Mhm.
because I never really did that, or I never learned how to do that, so I'm kinda I don't know about all thumbs, but I
But
couldn't
isn't it cool to watch,
I
like,
love that
how
stuff.
that I was watching someone doing cake decorating last night.
Cake?
Cake
Yeah,
decorating,
that's
and
kinda
I'm
cool,
like,
yeah,
"Wow,
yeah.
I didn't realize, like, how much goes into that."
What about the ones that, like, cut
Oh,
it
yeah.
like, if you're watching it, it looks like a book,
Uh-huh.
but then they
Cute.
cut it
Oh,
and
they cut
it's a
it.
cake.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that
Uh-huh.
stuff. I just like all the, like, cottages. I like, farming.
Mhm.
You know, I watch a lot of farming. I'm trying to think about the name. You know, when you live off the land,
Mm, mhm, mhm.
there's a
When you're
name.
off the grid kind of,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's like a name
yeah.
for it. That's really cool. I like watching people do sourdough.
Mhm,
Like then they roll out these carts out the end of
mhm,
their driveway and have these
mhm,
beautiful sourdough, like
mhm,
all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
mhm.
I just kind of like, within a half hour, I'm just and then
Right, right. So people talk about doom scrolling, and I get it, right?
what
And
going?
doom scrolling, just sitting there and
Yeah.
just mindless,
Oh yeah.
and social media being used for trafficking and things like that.
Oh,
And I'm
it's
not
hard.
taking anything away from that, but
Yeah.
I've learned so much
Yeah, yeah.
just by tuning into the right
Yeah.
channels. Like, how do I fix my toilet?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to YouTube and watch a video on
Yeah,
how
I
to
love
fix my toilet.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it for that, and I love it for what, people like us can do too, I've
Hmm.
been afforded a wonderful platform, because of all the other people that were there for me, so I
Hmm.
use, social media to, just to reach people.
Connection,
Yeah, that
right?
one person,
Yeah.
I'm always after that one person, you never
Hmm.
know who you're gonna meet or what who it's gonna connect you to, and,
Hmm.
it connected me to you.
Hmm. That's right.
I mean, yes, we've seen each other, since you've been down here. I've seen you at a
Hmm.
few things and, 2 ships passing in the
Hmm.
night, and then, through I think it was
Yeah.
Instagram, and I was like, "Bing,"
Hmm.
and then I
And here
watched
we are.
and here we are, and that's what I love about social media. It does have some wonderful attributes to it too.
Hmm.
So your podcast, what is it?
From mayhem to mindset with
Yeah.
Dr. Laura.
Yeah, I know, I love it.
Hmm.
But are you talking about mental health, SUD?
I'm
Um,
really interested in anybody who has a compelling story.
there you go.
A compelling story where you have used your mindset, done something different. I have my sons are friends with a young man who's 23 who was just diagnosed with a stage 4 brain tumor.
Oh, gee.
And so he agreed to be on my show. He's a hometown kid, right?
Yeah.
We linked his fundraiser to the podcast, but this kid talking about the power of mindset, right? Like they just cut into his brain and he's on a podcast talking about, his plan, what he's doing. This is just a delay in what his plan was, and just hearing that, it's
Mm,
kind of like if somebody sees that video, that person is going to change,
amen.
right?
Wow, yeah,
And
that's
so
deep.
it's anybody, and it's deep. Any one of us can be affected and have an
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah, it's amazing, like, boy, talk about doing something with a dilemma, like and then it just, you reminded me right then and there. I say it a lot to myself because, I live in the world. We live in the world. There's all kinds of things in the world that are constantly throwing snowballs
Mhm,
at you, left hooks, curveballs, and then you just made me think about it. And that's one of my little disciplines, Tim, relax, man. Everything's on loan. It's
mhm,
all on loan. And then, I always ask when I work with people, look, so what are you trying to control? Let's talk about that. What's making you control? Did anybody ever ask, mention to you control's just an illusion, right?
mhm,
I don't know, say, I'm 63 now, right? I work
mhm,
with a population that could be as young as 18.
mhm,
And if they say 18, I say, all right, so there's what, 46, whatever years
mhm,
difference in us. But if we get rid of that, the man made world, the world, you and I are as old as we've ever been in this moment.
mhm.
And I usually get their attention with
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, yeah, if you flip that over, you and I are as young as we'll ever be in this moment. And they're
Mhm.
like, whoa. That was kinda but it's true,
Mhm.
I
It's
said, "C,"
true.
and then I just control what?
Yeah.
Is knowledge working you or you working knowledge?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm. I love that. I love that. Who's really controlling the show here?
right?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I just love that it's given me the opportunity to learn from so many talented people. Everybody has a talent, I don't care who you are,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, everybody has something to say,
yeah.
and I'm gonna say something. I'm tired of the same people on social media in Hollywood saying the same things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody has
Yeah.
knowledge
Yeah.
that can be shared. And so I
100%.
want people to share their knowledge,
Gosh, I couldn't agree with you
you
more.
know?
That's all this podcast does.
Right.
It's recovery centered is the name of it,
Right.
and I could care less what you're recovering from.
We're
It,
all
it,
recovering from life, by the way.
right?
One way or another, and there's not a single one of us that has been unscathed by something in
This is
life.
part of the journey. It's
Right.
part of the walk. Everybody has a story.
Mhm.
But like I was saying, it doesn't matter to me what you're recovering from. I could care less if you're
Mhm.
recovering from something. I want to know what you did because
Mhm.
I believe there's magic in there. You
Mhm.
know, it's like, what did you do to get out? Because there's so many people denied that privilege that just haven't met. Here I go again. That
Mhm.
one person.
Mhm. Mhm. So my ultimate goal is, if he's watching this, contact me, is to have Eminem on my show. He's been an influence to a lot of people
Yeah.
from what I see, and he has influenced he's in my mind when I do the show.
Yeah.
I dressed up as him for Halloween a couple of years ago.
That's fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
the idea being that, his rap music is great. His music is wonderful,
Very
but I
clever.
don't think people also know. I don't think he knows the influence that he's had on me. He doesn't know me, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then how it influences my work
Yeah.
with people,
Yeah.
right? Which is what we want to see, right? One person influences another, who influences another, who influences, just goes downstream.
Yeah, yeah, it's all, I believe we're all part of this, like, marvelous tapestry that's being weaved, and, if I succeed, you succeed, if you
Mhm.
succeed, I succeed, and I think everything just morphs,
Mhm.
whether it's bad or it's good,
Mhm.
right? So he
Absolutely.
had an very difficult upbringing, right?
Mhm.
Streets of Detroit,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Mhm.
And then drug addiction and jail and then the institutions and
Mhm.
so he turned his kind of like
He
his
turned it around.
turned it around, and there's a fella, a first responder I know up in, Georgia, and he's a combat veteran as well, and he has, a thing, a PIP,
Mhm.
pain into purpose,
Yes.
he has a little, thing going, he helps first, it's called Team PIP,
Mhm.
pain into purpose,
Mhm.
and, yeah, I mean, we all need that person
Yeah.
to help.
Mhm.
So plans for the future, what's up and coming,
Whew.
um, you
Hopefully,
know
hopefully more speaking. That's where I'm going. I
Oh,
love the one-on-one work. I'd love to do more events, more speaking, more teaching.
oh, okay.
Um, you building the podcast more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My big secret is to turn the podcast into a show, into a TV show. That would be like my ultimate dream.
There you go.
I dream big.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
why not?
And so Eminem, if you're watching, you would be my first guest
Yeah,
on my TV show.
yeah,
And it's a way also to give back to people. There's
yeah,
so many people
yeah,
who every single one of my patients inspired me one way or another. I tell people all the time,
yeah.
I have to like something about you to work with you. Right? Even the people who seem that they're just, oh, he's just an addict or he's just whatever. Have you listened to him? He was someone's little boy. Right? He was someone's baby, he was someone's hope.
I
Something
wanna
went wrong.
I wanna know what took the pieces away from him 'cause that little addict
Mhm.
was born with 100 pieces,
Right.
just like, we all are. Well, the world takes pieces, like, I'll behave myself too, but, that just irks me,
Mhm.
you know, he's just an addict, and I
Nobody is a throwaway.
and I
That's
love
why I don't like the term when people say somebody's broken. Don't like that.
oh, that's
You will never hear me say that.
correct.
Mhm.
It okay, if they're broken, then build them up,
Mhm.
everything's fixable.
Mhm.
What's 100%? I have no idea what 100% is. Do you?
Mhm.
Does anybody know?
Mm.
What it like, "I just wanna be normal." Well, I work with people, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, well, what's normal to the spider's chaos for the fly.
Mhm.
So what's normal?
What is normal?
Like, you tell me. I'm
Mhm.
trying to find.
Yeah, what is normal? I just told people that I watch, like, crime stuff on YouTube, right? Is that normal? I don't know,
It
but I like it.
Correct.
Right.
You know, do no harm to others and treat yourself with the respect that you deserve,
Mhm.
because if you're doing that, then you're going to be able to transmit the respect back to other people. You can't transmit what you don't have.
Mhm.
Just an addict, just another alkie. She doesn't deserve to be a mom. Da, da, da. And then meanwhile, behind the curtain, the same person is doing
Mhm.
something,
Yep.
and it just irks me. It tells me a lot about people. Instead of somebody empowering somebody, all they do is they just criticize. I like to know, did you grow up in a parenting style,
Mhm.
did you grow up in a critical parenting home, or
Mhm.
perfection focused driven home, or
Mhm.
narcissistic home,
Mhm.
right? Or a workaholic home? Like, where did you come? What's going
Mhm.
on with you, buddy?
Mhm. Mhm. Very interesting stuff, and believe me, I did not have a golden childhood. I've been bullied. I've been
Yeah,
through the ringer. I've been
yeah,
bullied as an adult
yeah,
significantly,
yeah.
especially when you put yourself out there on social
Oh,
media.
yeah.
People love to take attacks at you, but I still come back because
Heck yeah.
and I still think of growing bigger
Yeah,
because there's got to be someone who can be reached. Maybe they don't live in Florida, but
yeah,
maybe they'll turn on YouTube one day, or
yeah,
maybe I'll have a TV show and they'll turn on the TV
yeah,
and they'll be like, that's the message that I needed to hear for
yeah,
today because nobody else will hear me. And
yeah.
that's the biggest thing. The times where I have felt lowest in my life is because I didn't feel anybody was hearing me.
Yep. Yep, invisible, the old invisible syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, hello, I'm over here.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. And
Yeah.
sometimes, believe it or not, I put myself out there. I can still feel that here and there,
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up in a home.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was from Italy. He was a doctor in Manhattan. My mom, he did his residency at the Italian hospital in London. There was my mom, this beautiful English babe.
Mm-hmm.
Dad came over to Brooklyn in 53. Mom waited a year for him to get licensed and
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah, blah. And then 5 boys later.
Wow. Uh-huh.
But my dad was stoic,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just this kid over here, like, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm little Timmy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
old. I
Yeah.
just need a hug and a kiss.
Yep.
And I couldn't even get that.
Mm-hmm.
As obviously as I got older and had my own recovery, I realized, my dad was just doing the best with what he had.
Right.
And was it what I needed then? No.
No, it was a mismatch, but it doesn't mean he's an awful person.
Oh, no, no.
Yeah.
I know he meant well, because in my recovery journey, in my first year, it was my first sober Christmas with my mom and dad. They were down here in Florida, and one of my goals was to give my dad a hug when I left. I was still living in sober living.
Mhm.
And that was just one of my goals. I needed to do it for me because I was sick and tired of trying to be understood. I wanted to be understood my whole life, and
Yeah.
and I made that shift.
Mhm.
Thank God, to start teaching myself how to understand,
Mhm.
because I found it empowered me more.
Mhm.
Trying to be understood, but good luck. It was like it's like herding cats.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Mhm.
So my goal was to hug my dad, and he's such an Italian. I'll never forget this day, because I kept approaching him because I still lived in the sober living. They were over in Clearwater area,
Mhm.
like Dunedin over there. I'm living over here, and I had on a 3-hour drive, 4-hour drive. I had to get back for curfew. And it started around 10 o'clock in the morning that Sunday. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is really happening. And I would get to that point. I was about to hug him, and I couldn't. I retreat. And then my dad, one time he's like, hey, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing. He's like, stop that up. I was like, oh my God, I can't. No wonder this was so hard for him, because
Mhm.
he never told me. And here I am, I'm 44. This last time, this guy was in the Marine Corps, would got me into a place. So had a year under my belt. And I finally broke that point, that line, and oh man, I gave my dad a big old hug, and I said, "I love you, Dad. I can't wait to see you again, and I'll miss you." And he's gone like that, but he couldn't say it. And my initial,
Yeah.
just say it, just get it out. But
Mhm.
then I'm like, he
He
can't.
can't.
But I'll
Yeah.
tell you, on my way home that day, boy, it was one of the best rides I had
I
in
bet.
years. My little wings opened up a little bit. I was like, and I told my dad, every time I seen him, Doc, after that, then I loved him. And each time got easier and easier. And then he fell and hurt his hip.
Mhm.
He had to get a hip replacement, and he wasn't doing well. And I walked out of his room when I was, had him in a nursing home. Love you, Dad. See you tomorrow. Maybe the following day, whatever the situation. And here I am, Dr. Laura. Gosh, I was probably like in my early 50s now. And I heard this faint little voice. I'm walking out. I love you too, Tim.
How beautiful.
Oh my God, I'm walking down the hall of the
Mhm.
nursing home. Like, I've been going there for a long time. Everybody knows me, but
Yeah.
it was one of those awkward moments for them. They just kind of,
Wow, that's beautiful.
and then, a couple of people, maybe a day or two later, said, "Yeah, everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, everything's good."
Mhm. Beautiful.
Wasn't
That's a
that
beautiful
what
story.
a nice little story, right? But I
Mhm.
get it. There's still that little default, maybe? Is that,
Mhm.
I don't know, a fiber, a gene? I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah,
The body keeps
the
scores, they
body keeps
say,
score,
right?
right?
So, I mean, do you ever forget it? I don't think so,
I don't think so.
right?
Can you move beyond it, through it?
Oh,
Sure.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. And that's another thing, Dr. Laura. I don't think you're one of those people either, like that just say, "Get over it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. How many
Mhm.
times do we gotta tell you?"
Mhm.
I can feel that from you.
Yeah,
I
no.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's, so boy, what a blessing to have you here
I'm
today.
so happy we made this happen.
Right? I
Yeah.
know, I'm really excited. I finally met a winner. Woo-hoo! The person that gets it, and she's given her all. Like, we had a lot of great conversation and information and ideas and thoughts and beliefs,
Absolutely. We
It
covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, move yeah.
I like
Well,
it.
I wanted to keep up with you because I can tell you're very, like
I'm all
I
over
had
it.
competition today, and I had to keep it. Yeah, but you were wonderful, and I'm really glad you said yes, and
Same here. And so then you're going to be on my podcast too, right?
well, that's up to you.
Oh, yeah.
I got a story.
I love stories.
I got a story.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, if people want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Sure. So you can reach out to me. Shoot, everybody has my number by this point. So you can reach out 516-635-6186. That's my direct line, my business line. You can look me up at lauraellick.com and all of my socials, TikTok, Instagram. I think it's either Laura Ellick or Laura Ellick Real. I try to get all over the place so people can find me.
Yeah.
And if I can't help you, I will help you find someone who can.
Yeah, that's so good of you, and that's very professional, but just personal, good moral compass too
Mhm.
that you have. It's just the right thing to do.
Just the right
We
That's
can't
the right
help
thing to do.
everybody, but
Right,
together, Dr. Laura and I can, or
right.
our circle can, or we got you.
Mhm.
Um, I'm like Dr. Laura. I'm all over the place. Just Tim Roberto. Pop up in social media. If you want to email me, I'm tim.r@beachway.com. Feel free. Yeah, what a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much. Truly a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, and I know Dr. Laura is on the same page as I am with this. Until our next episode, we both wish you peace and love.